No. I'm sitting here though. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you both to ZFG and Molotov for that awesome race of Ocarina of Time, and ZFG for his Majora's Mask run. We're going to start getting set up for the Metroid block soon. Up first, we have got MilesSMB playing Metroid Prime. All right, we're going to run to a quick 30-second commercial break. We'll be right back.
You gonna sit in a chair?
What?
The one on the right. Yeah, there you go.
Watch out behind your leg. I'll move this chair.
Thanks. All right, everyone, welcome back to AGDQ 2014. For 155 hours, we are going to speed run through some of the greatest and worst video games of all time. We just got done running through the 3D Zelda block. Again, shout-outs to both ZFG and Molotov and the Couch crew for the great commentary. Next up, we have got Metroid Prime, followed by Super Metroid, and then Metroid Zero Mission. So get hype, everyone. We are Speed Demos Archive and Speedruns Live coming together to put on AGDQ 2014 to raise money for the Prevent Cancer Foundation, who is going to try to do exactly what I just said, prevent cancer. So far, you guys have very generously donated over $600,000, which is an incredible amount of money to say the least. Real quick, I think we want to show you guys some of the prizes. Looks like we got coming up for this block. Looks like we got a Super Metroid Perler.
So this is the provided by By MilesSMB. It's actually the price right, but somehow it was never claimed. So there's a price right at AGDQ. It's a $25 buy-in during the entire Metroid block. So if you donate $25 during this block, that'll make you eligible for this prize. And we also have this amazing poster. For the Ghostbusters comics, and it's a $20 buy.
Yeah, there's actually a ton of prizes, like throughout most of the marathon. There are a ton of prizes for this block, including the HD PVR Rocket Video Recorder, which will require a $10 donation throughout Metroid Prime. And then all the rest of these prizes are for all of the Metroid block, including the AGDQ 2013 scrapbook, a Metroid cast poster of AGDQ 2014, Samus Aran action figure, Samus Perler, Samus vinyl decal, Shine Sparker's poster and CD. God, how much do we have? Jesus. Super Metroid, Super Famicom cart, and a Various Suits Samus Perler AGDQ 14. All of those are varying ranges between $5 and $25 minimum, so just donate $25 and you're in for all of that. So again, first up we have got the great MilesSMB doing Metroid Prime. Any percent. I actually was not sure what we were doing. I'll read a few quick donations while we're going through this. We have a $50 donation from Brendan Walsh. Awesome runs for a great cause. Lost 3 grandparents to cancer, and my grandmother is currently fighting hers back. $10 donation from Jack Kowalski. Molotov Boone wants to continue his adventure in VIP 1. He is waiting. Put this towards whatever Molotov wants. Got a $50 donation from Evan Ricker. I've been waiting all marathon for something truly worthwhile to donate for, and with all the announcements of the Bonesaw to Earn dance, that time is finally now. Of course, cancer prevention is a truly worthwhile cause itself. Good luck with the remaining runs. Thank you very much, Evan. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to the couch. If you guys want to introduce yourself, introduce the runner and the commentators, and we can get started.
Yes, runner. I'm Kirby Master.
I'm TJP.
I'm ready to start anytime.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't use it real time. Did you get that it was Fusion Suit? Oh. Can I just continue anyway? How much did it win by?
1,000.
Yeah.
You can pool our money.
Someone snipe it already, right now.
We have a $4,001 donation.
Whoa.
Whoa. Now I feel bad. I got an applause from the audience for that.
There are all you people who have to donate money to make this.
It's so pretty.
3, 2, 1, go.
So the comments say you need to scan a bunch of extra stuff.
Yeah, so now for the most difficult part of the game. These targets.
All right. Yeah.
Yes!
Okay. Part 2. World record.
For those of you wondering why we're clapping, Miles is very known for resetting within the first 5 seconds because he misses a target.
So it was very nice to get those well and move on. Yes. Everything else after this is so easy.
It's practically an auto-scroller.
So what you're seeing Miles doing here with the scan visor, by locking onto something, strafing, and then letting go of L at the right time, he's able to move in the air at a high speed and gain a lot of horizontal distance. So it's used to move around rooms really quickly, but also to outright break the game, which you'll see later on after he gets up the frigate.
Basically, when you're locked onto something and you strafe to the side, you move really fast, then you slow down really fast. But if you let go of L, it forgets to do the slowing down really fast part. So you just go flying to the side. You can do it.
Good evening, it's Zoid here. How you guys doing?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Is there a way you could turn the volume up?
Yeah. Hello?
Yep, we can hear you.
Excellent.
Would you mind
doing this.
Would you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, my name is Zoid. I'm one of the programmers on Metroid Prime. I was the senior gameplay programmer. I did a lot of the puzzle scripting and interactables, like the door you just shot through, stuff like that. So basically, I did a lot of the development on the systems for the puzzles and stuff. I didn't do much of the boss fights or AIs. I did some of the environments around them, but you know, it was a team of a ton of people, so it was fun making it all.
It's great to have you on.
Sure.
Just a warning that the stream is about 30 seconds behind, so.
Okay.
So the technique you're going to see Miles do here is something called rapid fire missile, where basically when you fire your missile and then you close, when you fire your missile, the end of Samus's arm cannon opens up, and then she has to take time to close it to fire the next missile, but you can close it immediately by either holding C up or by pressing A. And like, now you basically just want to hold C up and then press Y at the right timing, so you can kill the Parasite Queen really quickly like that.
Also, that boss has a weak point, but you can kind of just aim without even locking on the system.
Yeah, you're supposed to scan the boss, and once it's fully scanned over like 5 seconds, you can lock onto the weak point, or you can just aim up and hit it.
This is actually one of the first bosses we worked on, and one of the ones I actually designed myself with another designer.
Nice.
The original concept was she was going to come in through the side of the room, but we went with the tube mechanic with the force fields. It worked out to be a much more interesting mechanic, and to teach the player about moving left and right and strafing is a big part of Metroid.
So if you notice, you see Miles constantly jumping. And the reason why he's doing that is he's doing something called an L jump, where if you're holding L, then you jump, and then you let go of L around a quarter of a second later, then you move a little bit faster. So you want to L jump as much as possible if you're in human form, and there's nothing to scan dash off of. So like if you can't dash off of something, then L jumping is an alternative, which is moving faster than just walking. Of course, going into Morphle is faster than L jumping, so
But
you're
you
going
don't
to see a
want
lot
to
of rolling.
keep morphing or unmorphing because there's an animation based.
Right.
So the tube section here you're going through was one of the early map designs, and one of the first maps we designed that kind of looped back on itself. So it was fun to kind of like make the whole areas connect together. After that, of course, we did it much more with the other worlds. But you know, it was kind of the first way we had a whole level that kind of looped around and came together.
Yeah, I really like how the whole frigate is interconnected. You go back to the earlier parts of the frigate through the escape.
It's actually was a bit of a challenge because the way the game works, you're actually moving your relative position in the world is actually constant. So we're just loading the areas around you. So when it loops back, it actually has to connect correctly. We're not cheating by teleporting you between the rooms or anything. So, you know, it can sometimes be a little tricky to get everything to line up just perfectly.
Now, something to mention here is, if you remember last AGDQ, Miles did a trick in Prime 2 called Item Loss Skip. Prime 1, that's basically impossible to do at the moment, because there's actually 2 spots in Prime 1 where you lose your items. The first is coming up, which is the obvious part where you crash into some electric area and you lose everything. You can actually skip that by going out of bounds and going around it. However, when you take your ship after you escape from the gate, the moment you land on Talon Overworld, the game strips you of everything you have automatically. So even if you can skip this cutscene right here, you still cannot skip losing your items.
Yeah, I think that's hard-coded actually. So.
Yeah, it's actually really, really annoying to skip this item boss right here. So.
Of course, you know, the old argument is skipping is actually something that we find was amazing for us, because it's not something that was engineered into the game. The game is, you know, set. I'll kind of talk about how the levels are set up. So each room kind of consists as what's kind of like layers. So like if you go to a room and then you go pick up, you know, the gravity suit and you come back to Flagra, it's a different environment in the room. And those layers are controlled about which items get picked up in the game. So if you sequence skip an item, it doesn't change the layer, so the room doesn't change, etc. like that. So, you know, that's how sequence break can work sometimes, is because the room layers don't change, so that you can kind of skip things because since you skipped an item, it didn't change the layer, so you skipped whatever second layer was in that room.
It's amazing how well the game holds up, though, when you skip around stuff. Like, I don't know of any way like the game can crash or anything by skipping items, which is
There is one. I believe you can. There's a skip you can do which causes the power bomb maze to load with the second layer in that room. Both layers load, which will cause a memory overflow and will reset.
I've never actually found a way to do that. But,
Oh, really?
yeah.
I thought there was a way to do that.
Interesting. Also, you're not supposed to get space jump immediately like this.
Yes. Like,
Just FYI.
Yeah, this is a pretty late game item.
yeah, like you're supposed to go through Chozo Ruins, then go to Fendran to get Boost Ball, and then come back and get Space Jump. But
Yeah, the reason the dash jump works is when you lock on and you dash left, the game creates a higher angular momentum to give you that side dash. But if you let go of the lock, of course, you retain that angular momentum, but it's not pulling you towards the lock, so you go further to your side.
If we could get a quick roll call from the couch and maybe the Skype call again real quick.
Korea Master?
Miles.
Test runner.
TJP 7154.
Base TJP 7154.
And I'm Zoid on Skype.
So because Miles had space jump really early, this completely breaks open the first part of the game, which is Chozo Ruins.
Yes.
And you can, instead of getting the main missile launcher, he just gets a missile tank here, which works.
Yes, then I just go ahead and get this energy tank too.
You have to do an L jump to get this. I don't think you can really reach it with just jumping normally.
Got a $50 donation from Wesley Johnson Graves. So cool getting to hear from a Metroid programmer. You made a fantastic game.
Yes,
Thank you. It was one of the most amazing projects ever to work on. We just came out to a wonderful game and a wonderful team to work with.
So something to mention is that in the Prime community, we optimize by in-game time, and the in-game time goes on whenever you basically have control of Samus. So like during cutscenes, during pause screens, during item acquisition screens and such, the in-game timer is not going. So there's going to be a few minor optimization Miles does that wastes RTA time, real time, but saves in-game time. And we'll probably point some of the significant ones out.
Yeah, like I could have skipped activating the beetle fights, which would save some real time, but it's not worth it in game time.
Yeah, most of the time, like game time versus real time, are very small, like a couple seconds difference.
Okay, this part is weird. This room loads every connecting room at once, and the room I'm going to loads quickly, but the door will refuse to open until every connected room is loaded. But it opens if I pause the game. So, like, I'm...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's faster
very
even
weird.
real time to pause there.
And this leads into another minor thing to talk about. There's 3 ways you can open doors. Doors loading is not random. The first way is that in some rooms, when you enter them, every door connected to the room will start loading automatically. The second and probably the most common way is there are invisible loading triggers all over a room, so when you hit them, the appropriate adjacent room will start loading. So in those cases,
I actually put in about half of those triggers, so I still remember where most of them are. So. the trick is the original design, we actually always loaded all the side rooms, but we started to hit memory concerns, especially with like large rooms like this one, when you have other large rooms connected to it. So that's when we put the triggers in. They're tricky to write, right? Because you want the trigger at a place where the player's not waiting too long for the door to open. But of course, same as having a morph ball can always get there rather quickly. So it's always a balance to try and make sure the doors open up in a reasonable time.
Sometimes, there are times when the door takes some time to load, no matter how quickly you reach it. So in those cases, it's actually faster to use a strategy where you hit the invisible loading trigger as early as possible, even if it takes longer to reach the door, because that means you'll wait less for the door to open. And
I think the worst loading room in the game is the Ridley boss room.
Yeah.
That was terrible. Wait, the third way a room loads is, which almost never happens, is if you shoot the door and you're really close to it. And this will only happen if you're out of bounds, which you'll see in a bit.
Yeah, and now for Incinerator Drone.
We love you, Zoid.
Yeah.
Blame Zoid.
So this boss was actually one of the first other ones I designed after the Parasite Queen, and I'm kind of a favor randomness, so his attack sequence pattern is not fixed. It's actually random. So how long he'll burn sideways and all that stuff is actually, in which direction is randomized. I favor designing bosses that are always a challenge, that you can't just break by remembering it directly. I really wanted the player to emphasize skill, so that's why I did it that way. Of course, your speedrunner is kind of annoying.
So like how long it takes for the red button to show up is completely random, which Zoid said that he programmed.
Yeah, that's
location,
actually pretty bad so far.
The location of the button's always the same, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's always this side and that side and this side and that side. Let's not do that.
And also, if you're wondering why Miles is scanning stuff, it's because he can.
Yeah.
He's bored.
You're not going for 100% scans, are you?
Yuck, no.
We got a $25 donation from Radman. I'm still a little disappointed that my bid war was beaten, but seeing that I've donated $750 already, with more coming, and that it's going to a cause that would have helped my stepdad anyway, I can still have a smile. Metroid is my favorite game franchise ever, and this block has my 3 favorite titles being run. Cannot wait for the 4-player Super Metroid race. Let insanity ensue. This goes to the 242nd star in Super Mario Galaxy 2. Keep the marathon going strong. Hashtag 80 core bust from Radman, the PJ Salty Lucario. P.S. Spike, when's Mario Party? Big play is going to happen during bonus stream.
All right, so something coming up is something we call IBABF, which is
Ice Cream Before Flagra.
Ice Cream Before Flagra, right? So this is an out of bounds. This is probably the only useful out of bounds for speedrunning at the moment.
Well, if you want to do a 21% speedrun, there's more useful, but good luck to you if you want.
So essentially, you need Wave Beam normally to get to Ice Beam, but by getting Ice Beam before Flagra, you can skip an extra detour to Chozo Ruins, which saves a lot of time.
So the little morph ball door there, those weren't originally there until we figured out that people could beat the loads in morph ball tunnels, and they'd fall out of the world because the other room hadn't loaded yet. So we actually had to make these little tiny doors and stick them in the morph ball tunnels. Ideally, you were not supposed to ever see them, but it was kind of funny because it wasn't until our testers started really running around the game and accelerating it that they were like, oh, I fell out of the game in the morph ball. So we had to put those in.
All right, so yeah, this is, by the way, a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah, like that.
Like there are very
I'm
specific
actually
spots
surprised
you
you
need
got
to
out there
land
pretty
on,
quick.
and you have to make sure to hit the invisible loading trigger for the next rooms, for certain rooms. And also to get out of bounds in the first place, Mouse did something called a ghetto jump, which is where you jump against the slants to gain extra height. The ghetto jump he did to get out of bounds is more difficult than it looks.
Yeah. For
It's
the
not
record,
that trivial.
I did not know why they came up with the name Ghetto Jump.
I don't know either. It's just a coin term.
Yeah.
So there's an interesting artifact about being out of bounds is the way the physics works for the player is it does a raycast down to see if there's ground underneath you, and if there isn't, it doesn't move, it doesn't make you fall, which is one way that I think these out of bounds work, because you don't, if you're out of the environment, you won't fall to your death or keep falling forever. It's kind of just an artifact of the physics engine that was developed.
Right.
Yeah, it's really nice that it does that.
It was actually nice for development, because in development, not all the rooms are fully closed properly, so you end up standing out in space sometimes. So it was nice, because in development you don't fall to your death, and it just got left in.
And most of the out-of-bounds surfaces are sticky. That's why you see him sometimes sticking to the wall, trying to find those standable spots where he can navigate more quickly.
Very
through.
nice. Very nice.
That's because, that's because the way the physics works is the environment is one-sided. So when you're touching the other side, you're actually interacting behind. So it depends on which surface you come through.
Yep.
That was another ghetto jump he did, to get a ghetto jump off the slant on top of the
Yeah,
cloud.
it is a really easy one. I have been messing it up every single time.
Right, so this is one of the optimizations for in-game time we mentioned. If you let the cutscene play out while holding C down, you automatically switch to Ice Beam by letting the cutscene play out. But if you skip the cutscene, you don't automatically switch to Ice Beam, so you waste some in-game time by not doing that.
Wasted about 9 real-time seconds to save maybe a quarter of a second in-game. So.
Yep. There's probably a lot of stuff you guys didn't understand about what happened during IBBF, and it would take way too long to explain every little thing.
Here's the Chozo Ghost fight.
Oh my god.
I'm not sure if it's going to happen here, but if you hit a ghost with a charge shot while it's stashing away, normally it will turn invisible and you can't hurt it anymore, but it will stay visible until it stops moving if you hit during a dash. And that makes it really easy to hit.
So let me talk about this room. This room was actually the first puzzle I scripted in Prime based on our designs. And the reason I did it first was because it was the most challenging in terms of, you know, the physics of the rotating platform and all that stuff. So it was the first one that stressed the physics system by having the morph ball go through the tunnels, stressed the puzzles, and that you had to, like, you know, hit each of the beams and all that stuff. So I think you're going to return here later, if I remember right.
Yeah, I do return there later, but I never use the Chozo statue.
Sorry.
That's fine.
I've got a $50 donation from Aftermath. Greets from Germany. We're all hyped to see Miles crush this game for charity. Sub 1 hour, go.
Yeah, a couple of times in runs, I've forgotten what I was doing and would get back out of bounds here. And yeah, that's really bad. So, good thing I remembered not to do that this time.
Never thought about it.
He wants to kill the animals.
No.
I've also got a $315 donation from PJ.
Wow.
This is the leftover money from the Fab 4 marathon. Big thanks from Feasel, Mecha Richter, Duckfist, PJ, and Flicky for helping to get us here. Your generosity has been overwhelming. That's a word. Here's hoping to see Metroid Zero Mission hard mode low percent. Keep up the great work, everybody. Thank you, PJ.
So, just to mention before, there's a way to get over the runic symbol gate by doing a triple bomb jump over it. But one, because he got Ice Beam, that triggered a lot of beehives to disappear. So you can't use those to quickly climb up the room. And two, we're optimizing by in-game time, so the cutscene to open the gate doesn't count towards in-game time. But the triple bomb jump will still be faster in real time, but we're optimized by in-game time. So,
like I mentioned, the reason the ghosts are in there was because the room layer sets were changed because of the Ice Beam pickup.
Right.
well, I don't think we ever mentioned this, but Miles is playing on the GameCube NTSC 000 version of this game on the Wii console.
Like, this scan dash I do right here, you can't do that on later versions of the game. Also, this boss, you're supposed to go around hitting the mirrors, and then after you hit the mirrors, Fogger will crash down, and you can get into the Morphball tunnels. But you can just jump onto the tunnels from the top and bomb them that way and skip everything.
The cutscene's a little messed up, though.
Yeah.
You can't do that for the first bomb off, but the first bomb off's trivial, so it doesn't really matter.
That doesn't matter.
So the red color there that's flashing, I remember we had a meeting to, the GameCube can do what's called an additive color pass on objects. And we had a big meeting to figure out what was the perfect shade of red to show that damage was occurring. And, you know, so we did a bunch of tests and we did things, and then if we try to make sure that every place that flashes to show red is the exact same red color blend, so that the player really understands that damage was occurred. You'll see it on bosses, on enemies, the blocks in the big light tower, all that stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting, those things, like, you don't realize how important they are, like the enemies flashing red, like that. Like, just how much goes into making a game like that.
I've got a $50 donation from Monsieur H. As an indie dev guy, it's so awesome to get to hear about one of my favorite games from one of the guys who actually made it. It's a dream of mine to get to work on a Metroid game one day. I also just wanted to say thanks to all of the developers who have come onto Skype to give us insight into what really went into making these awesome games.
And here is the saddest part of the run, where we get the various suit with fusion suits.
Oh my god.
At the beginning of the run.
It's already done. So yeah.
I can quit the run and change it if you want.
You want to
Beautiful.
Yeah, the Fusion suit was a really nice bonus that worked out when we, because Fusion was in the same development time as Prime was, and we were able to kind of connect them together. I remember I scripted a lot of these cinematics too, so for me, I'm envisioning putting those cameras together and everything, which was always fun. The trade-off when you're ever designing the game is the cinematics. You want to make sure communicate and give, when you're showing a cinematic to a player who's picked up an item, you really want to demonstrate to that player, hey, you got it. Here's this awesome thing. Let's show it off to you. And I think we captured that as much as we could. And it's a trade-off, right? Because you don't want this cinematic to be too long because then the player's not playing. So.
So what happened there is a trick he's doing called Early Wild. So there's an artifact in the room you fight Flower in called the Artifact of Wild. However, you can't get it until you reload the room. To reload the room, you have to go
It's more
partway
technical
down.
than reload the room. You have to change the room layers. There's a trigger partway down the shaft. So I have to
Exactly.
drop down to it.
And it's a one-shot trick also.
So the way that room is scripted is when you come up that tower later, it changes the trigger in this room. Because you're supposed to have the spider ball.
Zoid, since you like RNG so much, did you program the Chosa Ghosts?
I did not. The AI was done by a bunch of guys. The way the AIs work is they have what's called a flow system, where they have a set of behaviors that flow together. I think you were mentioning before how you could interrupt one to make him not invisible. And I think what happens there is there's a flow sequence of him, doing the move and then turning invisible. And if you interrupt that sequence by causing him to do a flinch back, that interrupts the sequence to go invisible again.
That's pretty good.
That was a very good fight.
Yeah.
Like, that fight could go so much worse from RNG.
Or also, if you stay on an artifact when it spawns, the two cutscenes happen at the same time. So it saves a couple seconds.
I want to give you guys a quick update on our next two bidding wars. A little bidding war by the name of Save or Kill Those Little Animals from Super Metroid. Right now, killing the animals is at 23,000. I'm sorry, $23,731.10.
Don't say you're sorry.
Saving them is at 24,000.
Oh.
Yes!
215.60. So about $485 difference. To also note, Metroid Zero Mission, hard low percent right now is at 2,577.04 cents. 100% at 1,146. About a $1,400 edge. If you want to see 100%, get your donations in. Just to point out real quick that the saving or killing the animals will be cut off at the appearance of Mother Brain, essentially, in that game. So you got the rest of this run and maybe about 40 minutes or so into the next one.
So what you're intended to do for this artifact is to have X-ray visor, notice the artifact inside the pillar, and then use a super missile on it, but for some reason you can use two missiles on it without X-ray visor and you can get it anyways.
Sounds like a bug. We should have had the right damage type assigned to it.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of fun with hitting an enemy with a weapon you're not supposed to.
Whoa, that was close.
Yeah, it wasn't actually close. It was fine. Yeah, pummers are weird because you take more damage if you shoot them while standing next to them than you do if you actually touch them. Like twice or 3 times as much damage.
Nice. That dash is very difficult.
Yes. Okay, I normally skip this energy tank, but marathons. Gotta get the extra help.
It's a pretty short energy thing.
Yeah.
A good little puzzle to teach you the double bomb jump.
Yep. I remember having a lot of trouble with this in my first playthrough. Kept falling in the lava.
Also, if you notice, sometimes when Miles unmorphs, you don't see the unmorphing animation, and that's something called an instant unmorph. It's also an instant morph, but either way, when you...
There is no instant morph in Prime.
Oh, there isn't, not in Prime 1. Okay. Well, basically, if there's something blocking the camera from behind Samus, then the game skips the animation, which saves a little bit of time. Prime 1's camera is very picky with giving you instant unmorphs, which is why you don't see it as often as in Prime 2 and Prime 3.
Yeah, there's a kind of ridiculous trick where you can actually jump in the middle of the air by using the instant unmorphs, but since you can't really get them in very many places in Prime 1, they're not too useful.
One of the best areas in the game.
Also, he let the cutscene up here play out because Samus walks forward during the cutscene. So if you skip the cutscene at the start, she'll be farther back. But if you let the cutscene play out until the end, then she's farther forward, which saves in-game time.
That's one of those like 10-second real time for 1 second exchanges.
I have a $137 donation from Nate. Miles.
Who's Nate?
Shoutouts to Nate, Based God. Miles and Zoid are awesome for coming together for a good cause. Never stop.
Yeah, you're supposed to scan like one of the scanning posts and just moves them all into position, but some well-placed scan dashes you can just kind of
You also have space
go
jump. You're
across.
not supposed to have space jump.
That also helps.
So now's the point where you're supposed to have space jumps, like after you get boost
Yeah,
ball.
so when you get boost balls, you head all the way back to the beginning of the game at this point to get space jump, and then head all the way back here to get wave beam.
Yes, but I'm just going to go straight for wave beam without doing anything with that.
So massive backtracking to cut out.
Got a $25 donation from Dr. Clark. I met my wife when she stole my microscope while doing cancer research in college together. I love watching AGDQ with her.
Oh, hi, Ridley.
That shadow is way too big for Ridley. I don't think that's how physics is.
It's meant to be noticeable.
Right, so coming up is a fight with the adult Shigoth, well, after 4BB Shigoth. For some reason, when you if you bomb the adult Shigoth's neck at the right time, it takes triple damage, I think. So you're going to see Miles drop some bombs at some point, and then right after that, unmorph, and then rapid fire several missiles. And hopefully that means you can kill it in one round. That's going to be coming up soon.
I have a $100 donation from Metroid. I was a member of the Metroid Prime 2D project and the Metroid Prime speedrunning community in 2005, and this speedrun is bringing back so many good memories. Shoutouts to all my friends from Samus Forum and MP2D. Let's kill those animals like we'll kill cancer.
So I want to talk through some of the 2D views. So when we prototyped the 2D stuff, we weren't quite sure how it was going to work out, and then when we got it running, it just turned out to be so much fun. We actually had to edge back a bit because we were going a little crazy putting too many of them in the game. We were almost to the point where we were putting one in every connecting hallway between rooms because they turned out to be really, really fun, you know. And I think in Prime 2 we actually had a 2D boss fight.
Nice.
Yes,
That's a one round. That was perfect.
Oh, I missed. I wanted to hit that crate so I could scan dash off of something, but it doesn't really save that much time anyway. And I can just do that instead.
So he let the cutscene. He could have skipped the cutscene, but he let the cutscene play out, so the body of the adult Shigoth disappears and gives him drops that he can scan off. But
So the way cutscene skip works is the cutscenes are actually playing in the game, so everything's still running. So when you skip it, there's actually special code that says, oh, set everything up like the end of the cutscene would have happened. And obviously sometimes, I guess that's a little off sometimes. So.
Alright, so what Miles is going to do now is go through Magma Caverns. He already has Ice Beam because he did IBBF, so he can go ahead and get Plasma Beam right now. He's going to do, the next room he's going to go through, you're supposed to have Spider Ball, but he's going to do something instead called an R Jump, which essentially, you're basically going to do an L Jump and then turn around by using the R button.
Yeah, basically, your forward speed while in the air is capped, and your sideways speed is not. So I just turn sideways while in the air and go really fast.
Of course, a scan dash is better than doing an R jump, but an R jump is another method of getting distance if
Like-
there's no scan points.
Yeah, there's nothing to dash off of in that room.
Well, there is, but
Well,
it takes longer to set. Well, really much longer to set up.
Yeah.
So it's faster to do an R jump. And something to note in Prime 1 about its physics is that whenever you press R in the air, which is kind of annoying, you lose all control of Samus. You maintain all of your horizontal speed pretty much, but you can't control Samus anymore in terms of horizontal speed. The only thing you can do is wait for her to land or morph. And when you morph, your vertical velocity is set completely to 0.
So yeah, that jump is a lot harder than it looks.
That jump's very difficult.
I actually died earlier today from missing it. So
There is a backup you can do if you miss it by doing a bomb jump out of the lava pool.
I
That's
just
another R
failed
jump.
that 3 times.
So now he's going to get Plaza Beam early. He does a ghetto jump here, and does another R jump right here to reach his platform.
There's a
Without having to use
even
grapple.
to get up here, yeah.
I believe in the Player's Choice version, they put an arbitrary lock on the Ice Beam door to Plasma Beam, and the lock only disappears once you get Grapple Beam.
Yeah, so that's really disappointing.
Well, a lot of those, the reason we modified it in later versions was for tuning reasons and because of some of the bugs that occur when sequence breaks happens. Like I said, that crash that I remembered was related to one of the locks. I think that's the lock on the door to the first room in the Phazon Mines, the door on the right. In later versions, there's a lock on that.
Right. Here comes a really difficult ghetto jump off the spider track. Got it. Nice.
Okay, that platform, once you go all the way around the room, platform extends out by the door. That platform is actually always there, but invisible. So I just jump to it while it's invisible and land just fine.
Okay.
And also, whoops. It also gets in the way there because the scan visor can't go through platforms. So you can't see it, but it's still blocking me.
So now he's going to go to Fendrana's drift, Fendrana, and then pretty much get all 3 artifacts there.
So we've received a donation with a question from the developer. Would you like to save, kill, or taunt these animals?
That's a hard question. I would say I'd have to say save them. I think that's
Yes!
We support your decision either way.
Begrudgingly, but
Also, if you're wondering why I support Save the Animals, it's because I speedrun Metroid Fusion.
And Miles does not. So
I like to think Samus would save them. I think she would do that.
no, she just doesn't know they're there. So
She's never met them in person.
So I mentioned that when you morph, your vertical velocity is set to 0. This is an example of it being useful right here. So Samus is falling really fast, but you morph to set your vertical velocity to 0 so you can gain a little bit of extra distance to land on this platform.
yeah, that boost up into the Morphal tunnel is harder than it looks.
And here comes one of the more difficult rooms in the
Yes.
game. Oh man.
Yes.
So this is a ghetto jump into maybe an R jump.
It's not quite over yet.
There's something right here that can ruin this room.
Good.
Okay, so that jump he did was a ghetto jump off of a slight slant on the wall, and I don't think he did an R jump, but an R jump helps reaching that Morphal tunnel. It's not a hard trick, but if you mess it up, you fall all the way down, and you lose like maybe even a minute. It's so much time. Because you have to climb up this room all the way up again.
Yeah, like Fendrana has a lot of really tall rooms.
Like that is one of the most punishing rooms in the game.
It sort of reminds me of those vertical sections in the original Metroid. You miss one platform, and you miss all the other platforms,
and you fall.
end up all the way at the bottom.
Well, those ones are great because It's like, oh no, I'm falling. I need to move to fall on another platform. And by moving, you miss the next platform.
right.
And you could have stayed still and
The
landed
thing
on
is,
it.
with that specific jump, I think most people do an R jump, but if you miss it, you pressed R, so you lost all control of Samus, so
Yeah.
you can't move yourself to land on the platform. So he's entering the Pirate Labs backwards because he has Ice Beam. And there's an artifact actually in Control Tower. I think that's the name of the room.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of invisible things you can stand on here. Well, not invisible, but tiny things you can stand on.
Oh,
so you
might
can
as well
do
be
that.
invisible, the one at the bottom.
Yeah. So he's using those as stepping stones to climb this room really quickly.
Yeah, you can see some very small nooks and crannies kind of sticking out of the wall.
Okay, this room, whoops, that's actually kind of bad. Good.
Okay, good.
Okay, that pirate had to break the glass. If you kind of screw up your execution through the room, he will not break the glass. And the only way to get through then is to completely leave the room and unload it.
Oh, hey, it's a Metroid. Wait, Metroids are in this game? No. Okay.
So while we're here, I'll talk a bit about the room design process. So when we're making rooms, what we would do is we would build what's called a blue room, where the room is just made with this blueprint texture and there's no arch or anything. And then we would go in and design where Samus goes, what she's looking at, the puzzles she interacts. We actually script the puzzles so they're playable. And then once the room is complete, then we would hand it to the